Welcome to another episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. I'm Julie Podewitz, and today I welcome Dan Fantasia to the show. Dan, welcome.
Thank thank you for having me, Julie.
All right. Well, this is the first time that I am meeting Dan, so along with you all. Dan is the founder and CEO of Treeline. You are a executive sales recruiting firm. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
And tell us a little bit about Treeline.
Yeah, we started in 2001, and since our inception, we've had an exclusive focus on the recruitment of sales professionals. We've won numerous awards. We're headquartered out of Boston, so we've been one of Boston's best places to work for 8 years. One of Inc. magazine's top 5,000 fastest growing companies 5 times. One of the Fast 50 in Boston, and also one of Inc. magazine's best places to work across the United States. And I don't bring that up to brag. I bring it up because we're a super genuine company, and because we're such a niche player, success for us is super important to help our clients find the right candidates that can, accomplish their goals and hit their numbers.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is, and maybe what your team indicates is a best place to work? What type of culture is a C-level exec, is the owner? What culture do you cultivate that you
I
consider the
think,
best
I
place?
mean, outside of, fun, energetic, and dynamic, I think it's communication, it's open dialogue, it's having the ability to discuss what's good and bad about the organization, what's important to the employees. Because many times, when you're the CEO, you might think you know what the employees want, and what you think might be fun or motivational may not be to them. So if you're not talking to your team, you can't create a best place to work, because you don't really know what they think a best place to work is. We do something called a start, stop, keep, and that we do that on a quarterly basis. And it's a email that goes out, and we ask what you think the company should start doing, what the company should stop doing, and what the company should keep doing. And that helps. And then we review it at the month-end meeting, so that everyone knows, and it's anonymous, but everyone knows what the ideas are, what ideas we think are really good that we should keep, and what ideas aren't great, we don't. But at least we're all talking, and we're all moving in the right direction. And I think that's really what does it.
I like that you said what you think is the best place to work is probably different. Well, we all have our opinions, right? And what you're saying to me, Dan, sounds like what a great salesperson, I think a great leader, period, or a person in any relationship should do is learn what is important to the other person or individuals or team, right? And while we all cannot get our way, if you're more than one person, you're not going to get your way all the time. And certainly the buck stops, there being an entrepreneur. I totally agree that what I think is a great culture uh, would be maybe not, the team may not agree. So it's learning about what's important to people, and as much as you can, serving them and your customers being your team members. And that's one of the qualities of a great salesperson. Would you agree?
I do. And you know what else is helpful, Julie? So when we interview individuals for our company, we interview based on skill, but also based on core values. And we have 4 core values that are really important to our firm. And so as we're interviewing to make sure the individuals that are considering Treeline also share the same core values. Because if they share the same core values, then they can live them every day with us. And if we're all on the same page, we all share the same core values, we all have input, we all have transparency into the direction of the organization and where we're taking it, then it's much easier to sustain a healthy environment, sustain the right individuals and continue to coach them up to be A players. And that really helps, like we've been in business for 23 years. I mean, when it comes to sales recruiting, there's just not a lot of niche players like us that only focus on sales that have been around this long.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is you are not heavily in the senior living space.
No,
So you're,
that's right.
so I would like to pick your brain just a bit, kind of, maybe as and more objective, and someone who like what types of service lines or verticals do you recruit for most?
So we recruit nationally. We recruit for every industry as long as it's sales, except for retail or business. The retail market is
Okay.
really not the right market for us. But anyway, we recruit nationally, and the companies that really gobble us up are technology companies. We
Okay.
work with all organizations, but tech companies, um, we have such a great process. We built technology to help companies understand and the workflow and how to move candidates through the process. And we give them a three-dimensional resume so they understand the sales characteristics of the individuals that we're introducing to them and how they align to their selling environment. And so that puts them at a huge advantage. Then we get them access to candidates they probably don't have access on their own, or they don't have a process to find the right talent. And as a result, they're at a disadvantage. And so they basically end up interviewing and hiring the best of the worst because they just don't have the strategy to find top talent to join their organizations. And many times they might not have the bandwidth either or the resources. And so that's why companies come to us. The reason why tech companies gobble us up is because we can put this in place. And for our VC and private equity partners, we have a playbook. They drop us into one company to the next, to the next, to the next, because they know exactly how the process works. They know it's efficient and effective. They can log in and see what's happening. And so that consistency is super helpful. They usually have the budget, and most of the time they're hiring at the most rapid rate of all of our clients.
What is it? So can you kind of share with me what traits, qualities, skills on the skill side you look for? Because tech is one might think that's very different than, for instance, senior living, which is the our listeners primarily are in the senior living space. However, and I had a couple questions, but the first one is, what are traits and qualities that you've done this for 23 years? They're like, okay, there's a salesperson.
The traits and qualities of just the salesperson, that's easy to identify.
Okay.
But
What
the
are they?
industry, the traits and qualities of an individual that fit a certain industry is different. So we're trying to understand the sales characteristics of a selling environment. Some are transactional in nature, some are consultative in nature. Some of them require a 1 week sales cycle to a 1 month sales cycle. Some require a 9 to 12 month sales cycle. Some require a significant amount of empathy. Some require an incredibly technical person that's selling to an engineer. So the characteristics are different because it's dependent upon your environment. So one of the first things we need to do when we talk to our clients is we need to understand the environment, understand the sales process and the cycle and the size, quotas, compensation, location, on-premise, off-premise. So there's a variety of different variables that we need to understand and learn. And then with those variables and an understanding of what skill set is the right fit, we recommend industries or competitors or basically sources for us to recruit from to bring you a pipeline of qualified candidates that are interested in your opportunity and in your company. If I were to take a tech person and try to move them into senior living, there could be some challenges there. If we had someone that was really solutions oriented and empathetic on the technology side, Their average deal size might be $500,000 to $1 million, and transitioning them into your line of business or this line of business would not, as much as they want it, might not be the best career move for them or for you. And so while they sound awesome and you bring them on board, they fail and they leave within 6 or 12 months, because we found the wrong person for the company, and
Right.
they oversold themselves on a position that's not great.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say then, Dan, is it's that you're looking at customizing and understanding what the vertical needs. What is a senior living salesperson I would highlight? I don't sell tech, I don't, but I could imagine, because senior living sales, I say it's the most difficult. And the reason I say that is that it's selling something people need. They come to us with a great need, and it sounds like, oh my gosh, like you move in today, right? You have a problem, we have a solution, and it don't work that way. If it did, and it was based solely on maybe facts or logic, everybody would move, right? But yet in our business, the senior living space, about 10 out of 100 will eventually choose to live in a community of 100 leads across, and this is across a continuum: independent living, assisted living, memory care, right? So that's, in my opinion, we open up the bottom of the funnel just a couple basis points, right? So we're not asking for everybody, but out of 100, getting 15, right? That would kind of solve the occupancy problems and the challenges. So what do you do then to learn about the qualities, like for instance, for senior living? What would you want to know that you then would think, okay, this I'm looking for? And let me preface this by saying that the journey that I've been on in 20 years in senior living has gone from when I first got into senior living, no one talked about sales. Oh my gosh, sales, terrible thing. They didn't, were, it was kind of the, nothing against social workers, but social workers kind of like really, and then even now people still, oh, sales is a bad thing. And so we've gone kind of from, I think we've made some progress in going from that, don't call yourself sales. That's, we're, with the social worker kind of that, because you do need that empathy and that caring. But, people like me kind of come in to say, we need salespeople, right? You need the blend, right? So it's that business side and understanding metrics and what really needs to happen from a business perspective and a sales perspective. Shut that off. Got a family in crisis, because people come to us with great loss and great pain and so many logistics, right? So the the other thing is that one of the common problems that I see and have seen and experienced is, okay, we want someone with experience. We want someone to understand senior living, and it's a challenge. Is this we're sort of rotating through a small pool of individuals within each geo. So it's that, like, bring in people from a different business, teach them senior living versus, is that how we got to bring people in, right? So that's a lot to dump on you, but just to give you a background of some of the challenges, because the turnover is very high in senior living sales. And we're looking at, getting great talent, training, coaching, and retention of top talent. That's the problem we would like to fix in 2024.
Yeah, I think just back to your first question.
Yeah.
If we went into a company, we would understand the sales model, of course, and we'd want to talk about the challenges and what's great and what's bad about it. And this throws companies off many times. And then we'd want to know who are the top producers and what do their backgrounds look like. And what will amaze you, Julie, is 9 times out of 10, a company will say to us, well, our 2 top producers don't have the background we're looking for. we're looking for someone that comes from senior living, and we're looking for a competitor. And so we can go out and we can find that person. Um, and we can bring those individuals to you, unless of course there's non-competes and comp issues and all kinds of other things. And if that is the case, we need a new strategy. But many times they forget where their top producers came from, and or either forgot, or they don't want to invest the time in the training to find the right core values and skill set in the potential A player. Instead, they want to find a person from a competitor that they think they can just plug and play. But plug and play, it's not always a great solution. Matter of fact, sometimes someone had a ton of success and something happened, or maybe they were giving a lot of accounts, or there are variables to why they were the top producer. You end up hiring them. And by the way, to hire them, you have to pay them more money to convince them to come over. And you find out it doesn't work. So the first thing I would try to do is figure out who are your top producers. And the second thing is, if we can hire competition, we will. And if we can't, then let's look at the competition and find out where they are finding their top producers. Like if you look at the industry and all the competition, do they all come from senior living? Probably not. They probably come from some industries. And I bet you if you were to look at what industries have had the greatest success, then we could start to target those industries. We could build a wider brushstroke of talent, and you could see a larger group of individuals to interview. And then if you can build training, and I'm not saying this is a solution for everyone, but if you can build training and coach them up to be A players, again, you can build a playbook to recruit top talent, get them excited, find that they're interested, they love the business, they stay, retain them, and then you can, you can sustain, you can sustain the business.
So,
There's a lot of different ways to do it, but
uh,
one way is who is your top talent, and don't take it for granted. Like, where did they come from? What do
yeah,
they have in their background?
nature versus nurture. So the combination of, right? So those, what I know to be true just through experience and working
Yeah.
with, I'd say thousands now, in senior living specifically, but also, leadership and, uh, I think you're a business owner no matter what you do in your job. The is such a combination of even potentially like maybe raw, I'm gonna say skills, but raw, but that it's the leaning in, it's the eagerness to learn. And as a coach and as a trainer and someone who's writes playbooks, puts infrastructure together, it's definitely about learning it, but about coaching, because it is such a high level skill to sell, period. To sell, it's not learning like, okay, it's A to B, and this is that's the basics. Then we need to understand human behavior, and our sales cycle, Dan, is it can be up to, if it's a CCRC, continuing retirement community, it could be 2 years. It could be longer. There could be someone in your database from 7 years ago, right? Or it could be a week, right? So, but generally speaking, about 10 to 15 hours of real focused person to person time. I that's where my question to you then is, from your experience, and I know, every business is slightly different, but what percentage, if you make something up, is like that, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to practice this, versus kind of that naturally born, in this case, salesperson, or those raw skills? What's your opinion?
I think the best organizations don't get caught up on domain expertise. They look for the soft and hard skills of the individual. Because if you have that coachable, dynamic, energized individual, um, coaching, I would rather coach a person up like that than a person that has domain expertise but doesn't share the same core values, or doesn't have the energy and drive and passion, to take the company to the next level.
How do you determine if someone has that? Because usually we're on our best behavior in an interview. It's like kind of, going on a date, you just get put a new shirt on and
Yeah.
stuff. I've been married 24 years, and
Yeah.
I don't know. But you know what I mean? It's like oh yeah. And of course I kind of joke because when I help and do interviews and assess and stuff, they know
Yes.
what, they know that I'm my background. So of course they love to be coached and they love training and and you get them in the seat and it's like,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
come near me. How do you determine that?
I mean, so one of the things we do is, one of the things I do is I say, don't consider this an interview. It's just a conversation. I don't want you to sell me, and I will not sell you. We're just trying to figure out if this is a good match. And if it's a good match, it will last a long time. But if we oversell either one of each other, then we're really not going to be honest and we're going to miss the whole point. Like we want people that are going to be here for the long term, not the short term. And then the second thing we try to figure out is we try to understand their soft skills. So many times we try to read between the lines and understand the story of each individual. And the story doesn't start with their first job out of college, right? It starts before college. Like they grew up in a family of five. They were the youngest. And in order to get a word in edgewise, they had to have empowerment and confidence. And because of that, they always worked hard and they worked at the ice cream store and they were 16 years old and they'd walk there after school or they'd walk there on the weekends in between field hockey or basketball. And they were never the best player, but they always worked the hardest. And so the coaches wanted them on the team. And by their senior year, they became the captain. And then they decided maybe to play in college, or maybe they didn't, or maybe they financed. Then they weren't moved on to college and they financed their education. And they didn't go to Harvard, but they went to a local, school, and they worked their tail off to find success. And you'll find these personality traits and these soft skills of a hardworking, driven individual that might not look incredible on paper, but their story is incredible. And that when you hire that person, maybe they come from a tougher environment. Maybe they're really, in your business, there's a lot of rejection and it's challenging. So you need someone that has grit. So someone that has fought through and made successes or made things happen in their life may be a better audience to recruit from than people that are already and have already been in the industry and that are probably likely burnt out or don't have the fire to prove themselves to the world. So sometimes you're looking for different, if the sale is really difficult, I would want to be talking to people that have experienced a lot of adversity and understand how to overcome adversity and have done and empowered themselves to live their life. And now they're looking for the next great opportunity to advance their career.
That's great. Great advice. What you've done this for 23 years, curious, what do people want? What do your candidates want? And how has that changed over the course of time?
Depends where they are in their career. When they're young, they want money. And as they get a little bit more senior, they do want money, but they understand they want a good company, a good culture, a good career path where they can sustain a career. What's the use of getting paid top dollar and only lasting 12 months? Sometimes top dollar means that it's required to just hire people, right? But it's a tough environment or what have you. So people want different things. Some people, maybe they want to work close to home because their kids are getting out of school at a certain time. Maybe they want to work virtually. Maybe they want a hybrid. So it's not always about industry or money or, technology. It's about, their family, their commute, their compensation, there's a variety of healthcare. There's a variety of different things. So we need to understand what is most important to our candidates, and we want to ask them what they're looking for in their next company. And then we want to make sure that we find the right match. And by the way, we still help individuals find some positions in tough environments, but we are crystal clear that if they make this choice, it is a tough environment and they have to be prepared for that in their career. And for many people, it is the right choice. They just need to know it. And if they're not sure, then don't take the job. I don't want to disrupt your career to help you find a role that's not going to be a good fit. If they understand and know exactly what the role is going to be, and they know what they're getting into and they're excited about it, then it's the right mentality, the right company. And while for some people they wouldn't join one company, or maybe you wouldn't want to join one company, but plenty of your candidates would. So you can't make the decision for them. Everyone has to make the decision for themselves and find the right culture and environment for them.
What advice would you give to those the companies who are searching and interviewing, and either the interview process, the hire process, training? What is your comes to mind? You wish companies would what? Get your magic wand here. It's Christmas.
A lot of things. I mean, I think the biggest thing is many times companies think they know what they want. But most of them don't. And the only reason why they don't is because when we start to introduce them to top talent that meet their requirements, they start to learn and realize this is different than we thought. In other words, sometimes companies will post a job and they'll get resumes and then they interview the people and the resumes they get, but they've never had accountability and recruiters searching for them to find the right talent for their organization, right? And so all of a sudden, when we start to bring that right talent to them, they start to realize, wow, these people are really good. So this individual is awesome. We would like to hire them, but they're too expensive. This individual is awesome, but they don't have as much experience, but we can afford them. Or, we reached out to 400 candidates and they all said they are not interested in the job, and this is why. So the first thing I would say is have an open mind, and then be adaptable to the data and market research that you get from doing a search, especially a search with us, because we're going to bring you caliber individuals you probably haven't seen before. And so now you're going to start, you learn, you just have a different perspective. And believe it or not, it starts to get companies a little screwed up, and they need help navigating what they need to do next based on the talent pool that they're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Dan, for coming on and sharing your expertise. It's very interesting. We could talk for a really long time. If someone wanted to reach you or someone at your company, what's the best way to do that?
You can reach me on LinkedIn directly at Dan Fantasia. You could go to our website, which is treelineinc.com, so treelineinc.com. And there's a million contact us forms. You can click on any one of them and send a message. You can even ask for myself, Dan Fantasia, and I'll always reach out to you.
We'll put a link in the text below. Thank you again. This is being recorded right before the holiday season, so happy holidays. And as we're heading into the end of the year, we wish you all a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. Anytime you're listening to this, thanks again for tuning in to the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. I'm Julie Podewitz, and I hope you have a great day. We'll see you in the next time.